BAND-MAID. Yes, I am back to talk about BAND-MAID off the heels of a video that I did a couple of days ago, this one, which hopefully you've seen. If not, then I'll link it below as usual. But I wanted to follow up because, as often happens when I do this kind of video where I'm talking about something that I think is important off the cuff, that I got some amazing comments back. And so I wanted to follow up on that. Obviously, if it's a topic you guys want to talk about, it's a topic that I've got a lot to say about, and then you go and give me comments that further what I was originally thinking, why not come back to it? So that's what I'm going to be doing today briefly, because as with before, it's just your comments really made me think, and it also gave me an idea of what you guys are thinking about the topic of BAND-MAID going, well, back to worldwide touring. My feeling, as I suggested, that from Psyche's message that she put out on Instagram, it was apparently in her Instagram stories, so this was not a permanent post, but I still felt this was an incredibly beautifully worded and interesting message that really said, hey, we are thinking about you, the fans. We understand there's a lot of fans in certain parts of the world especially who have been wondering, why hasn't BAND-MAID come back in a long time? And, you know, we're all about world domination, so we're going to be finding our way over to you. Now, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be responding to some of the comments that you guys have made on this video. Now, last time I did a video like this, I was showing the comments on the screen, but what I've done here is that there's nearly 200 comments on this video now. And so I've kind of categorized three things that came up quite a lot from the comments, and I'm going to try and basically address those three things now. So first of all, a big thank you once again to Psyche for having posted that post, which I think was so beautiful and really gave us so much to ponder and be excited about. But okay, here's the first thing. So the first topic that came up, and I thought this was just a brilliant comment. I really like this. A lot of people were talking about the fact that BAND-MAID have been absent from touring worldwide because really they've been shoring up their home domestic presence, you know, making sure that their presence in their home country of Japan is really strong, because let's face it, they are one of these bands who's been almost disproportionately successful overseas, and there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But when you've got a record company like Pony Canyon, who are a fantastic record company but usually deal with bands who have come up very successfully within the Japanese scene, you know, it's something where you've got access, as Pony Canyon do, to things like Fuji TV, and therefore to a lot of animes, and the opportunity to do things like, say, anime theme tunes. And that is something that BAND-MAID have been doing, you know, making themselves kind of relevant into Japanese culture as well by appearing in things like that. Now, of course, we know that the recent song they came out with, Ready to Rock, that is in a music-focused anime where they did actually do a little bit of motion capture. I did a video about that as well recently. Where is it? 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 Where there it is. Where they did a lot of motion capture in that. And of course, that's going to be a lot like how the people involved in Bocce the Rock, that really sort of pushed them to the forefront of the attention of the rising girls rock scene that's still rising in this country. I think that having a presence in a anime like that one, Rock is a Lady's Modesty is the translated name, that is going to be something that, again, it's going to help raise their profile in Japan, as well as these anime theme tunes they've been doing. Zen was the theme tune to an anime. I think their next single, which is about to come out, is also the theme tune to an anime. So they've just been doing anime theme tunes out of their ears, which I think that's great for their presence. But also on top of that, a lot of people pointed to the fact that they did come together and make this company Made It. Now, I've covered this before. I'll cover it again, just in case you're not aware. Made It was not them suddenly being emancipated from their old management. It was more a case, if you look at a lot of the management they use, it's basically they took on a lot of the people from their old management company and just turned them into their own company. So it's basically the same people, but they were like, I think their previous management company, they were the only clients, I've been told. And so as a result, BAND-MAID were like, okay, well, instead of just being the one client of this management company, let's just take these people who we like and turn them into our own company, Made It, and then we never have to worry about anything anymore. They're our management company. And so for me, that is another really strong sign of a band who are trying to shore up their presence, you know, trying to make sure that their presence within Japan is strong before they go about their world domination. And so I think a lot of people commented about this idea that BAND-MAID's lack of presence from touring has been very much down to that down to the fact that, yeah, they needed to cement themselves at home. And I very much agree. In fact, I've agreed with this for a while, but it was remiss of me not to really talk about that more in the last video that I did. So thank you to the people who've spoken about that. A lot of you left comments regarding that. I think it's 100% true. And also, as mentioned, it's important that we don't make assumptions about why BAND-MAID hasn't been touring so much to the rest of the world. I think the tours that they did in the US, a lot of people pointed out there, why did they keep on going back to the US and not to other places? I suspect they were just following opportunities that were presented to them. So again, this all plays to me to why Psyche left this message. They've probably taken opportunities post-COVID to go to America. That they probably thought, well, okay, we'll do that a few times, but we really want to focus on shoring up our presence in Japan. They came back, they did that, and then after all of that, Psyche's sitting there going, yeah, we didn't really go anywhere else post-COVID, did we? And again, I think that would fuel a message like this, which again, I think was a beautiful thing that she did and passed on to the fans. So yeah, I'm going to put that one out there as well. 100%, when we talk about why BAND-MAID hasn't been so internationally present, it is very important to talk about the fact that they have been very busy putting their foot down on the Japanese market and making sure that they had the foundation to build from. And also, I haven't even mentioned they released the album Epic Narratives in that time as well. So, you know, they've been producing material, you know, getting involved in times, all these great things. Now, the next point that was brought up, and which I think was really fantastically made, was in regards to cost. And a lot of people in the comments below the video about this were talking about the cost of touring in Europe. And sort of saying, well, I had a few comments as well saying, well, there's always been more fans when they turn up in America than when they turn up in Europe. And it's just, it's not as cost effective. Okay. Now, none of us is an economist. None of us can pretend to know the exact cost of their travel, how much as well they can afford to spend. We don't know these things. I mean, Pony Canyon have pretty deep pockets. So if they wanted to do something, I'm sure they could. But the point is what is cost effective for them to do? I think that's a conversation that's way outside of any of our ability to really answer. But I think a big thing that's often missed when people say, oh, well, if BAND-MAID went to tour in Europe, they wouldn't make any money. The point of touring far overseas, especially when you're a band like this who has a disproportionately large overseas market, the point is not actually just to go on tour and come back with more money than you left. I mean, obviously, that's what you want, but it's not really the point. The reason you do that is because when you go on tour, you leave memories with the people who see you, and then they become like your advertisers. Word of mouth is super powerful, especially these days when there's so much music to pick from. Word of mouth from a friend, someone who you trust, you can say, I saw this band, they came from Japan, they were amazing. Or even if you're a pre-existing fan, it like ignites more excitement in you. It's like, oh, the band I love, I've been following for years, they're coming back, I'm going to take all my friends. It's very powerful because it assures that you have like little marketing departments all over the world, because these are people who are excited because they get to see you in person. As I mentioned in that previous video, there's so many people, for all the people who can come to Japan and see BAND-MAID here, there's so many people who would love it, who are just as big a fan as anyone who gets on that plane, but they don't have the money to do it. I really, really feel that that's a point that cannot be made enough. Just because someone hasn't come to Japan to see BAND-MAID, it doesn't make them any less a fan. They could be a bigger fan than anyone who's ever been to a show. You don't know, because not everyone has the ability to do that. And especially, what if you live in a country where there's just, a really out the way country where you just don't have flights anyway and you have to make 15 connections? It's really important to point this out. So to turn up, or at least to go to a part of the world where you're maybe more accessible to people from that general area, there's so much strength in touring that is much more than just, did we make a profit from this tour? I mean, apart from anything else, it's the invested cost that if you tour and people love you, then the next time you tour, you'll be reaping the rewards of that last tour, because you'll have left the reputation in front of you. In fact, if BAND-MAID do a world tour off the back of this announcement, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but if they did suddenly come up with that next year or even in 2027, there is going to be so many fans who saw them pre-COVID who will be driving the fan base who go to see them on whatever tour might come up. So it is worth pointing out that there is a massive amount of reaping what you sowed last time or you could word it the other way and say sowing things to be reaped in the future. It's an investment. It's an investment in your fans, and that is why you thinking about how much money am I going to make on this tour is not the be all and end all. It's for a smaller band, it probably is. When it's harder to make the money to do that. But when you've got a big record company behind you who are interested in investing in you anyway, I don't think that's so much the reasoning. So I don't feel that the bands are going to say, no, we're not going to do it because of that. There are smaller bands. We mentioned like Hanabeer. Hanabeer have grown a lot now, but Hanabeer quite a bit smaller. Love Bites are smaller. Bride are smaller. All of these bands have done the trip, regardless of the cost. Because I think they saw the same benefit. It's more about what you build for yourself in the future. So I think the cost thing, that came up in a lot of comments, and I get it. I don't agree with it, though. I really think that most bands in the position BAND-MAID are, especially this position BAND-MAID are with the positive reputation they have, they would even be willing to tour at a loss. I think they would be willing to tour at a loss because of the benefit it would make later. But again, none of us are economists. We don't actually know the logistics of that. All I can say is that they got Pony Canyon behind them, and Pony Canyon are not short for cash if they think it's going to be a good return on investment, which I think we can all agree it would be somewhere down the line, even if not immediately. So that's my thought on that. And then the last point that I really wanted to touch on, the last big point, is that a lot of people came to what I think is a fair conclusion, which is that, okay, this is not really an announcement. Now, I did cover this a little bit in my first video, but I am going to cover this again. Yeah, I know it's not an announcement. I went into a bit of detail in that first video about the specific points of the wording, which made me think that there is more to this. And I was thinking that, even I was thinking at the time, well, maybe I might be reading too much into it because of the fact that it is done in a second language. But then people have already pointed out, oh, I zoomed in a bit too much there. There are some interesting little wordplay jokes in here anyway. What was it? Like, a lot of you anime fans, thank you, pointed out that there was another comment in here, something about starting again, which was very apparently like an anime trope. I can't see it. Oh, yeah. In fact, this is the real beginning. I think that might have been the one where a lot of you guys pointed out and said, yeah, that's actually a trope from anime that I didn't know about. So, yeah, thank you for the comments on that as well. But, it makes me think that maybe the wording of this is done with a lot of love. And the fact that it was only done as an Instagram story, so it basically disappeared after however long they lasted, a day or two, makes me think that it was there just for the fans who would read it. So it would be there, the fans who are going to read it would read it, and then it would go away. It's not just for everyone, but it's for the people who actually care enough to be looking constantly. It was there. Psyche put that out. And so I feel like the wording of this probably wasn't just too off the cuff. But again, I come back to this. We will definitely go to everyone around the world again. It's a very firm, we are definitely doing it. Around the world again. We are thinking about this. We'll surely bring our sound to those who have not yet. We have not yet met as well. That's another thing she said. I think those two lines make a very clear statement, but so much about this is just, for me, it feels like something where ultimately the best way I think of looking at this, if you feel this is not an announcement, which it's not, there's no facts in it, other than those two sentences, actually, I guess they are kind of facts, the clear statements of this is going to happen. But although this is not an announcement, I would word it this way. Now that she knows this has been put out, and obviously before, when she knew she was going to put this out, I think Psyche must be aware that if you put that out and then they didn't do a world tour sometime in the next year or two, that would be something where people would go, excuse me, did you not post this? It would reflect very badly. I don't think it would even be, I don't actually think they've got like a tour currently booked or anything. I think they're probably still in the process of thinking about it, going through some negotiations, whatever. But I don't think she would be posting that if there wasn't a very clear image in her mind that this is something that's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime in the relative near future, in the next year, maybe year and a half. So I know it's not an announcement, but for me, it's enough that not only does it clarify where they feel, because I've said this before, again, a lot of the things that people had heard before, like off the cuff things that BAND-MAID had said in interviews, that's all well and good. But off the cuff is one thing. To actually sit down and say, I am going to put this out as a statement. It might not have any clear dates in it, but it is a statement. Look, we're thinking about this. This is all this is. This isn't like a remark in the behind the scenes footage. This is something I've put out so you know we're thinking about it. For me, that's very important. It's not a statement of facts so much, but it's a statement of very clear intent. So for me, it might not be an announcement of dates. It might not be an announcement of things that are like planned specifically, but it's an announcement of what they actually prioritize, what they care about. And I guess that brings us on to, I mean, those were the 3 points I wanted to cover, but it brings me on to one last comment. I love the fact that a lot of people were saying, just trust in BAND-MAID, trust in BAND-MAID. And do you know what? If you're that way inclined, I love you. You're probably right. I'm one of those people who, and then you've got some people who are actually quite cynical the other way. So I'll believe it when I see it. But for me, I'm one of those people, I believe in these bands. I believe, I trust that they got their best intentions at heart. But by the same token, I think for the fans, this was an important thing because, fans do have a right to ask questions. It doesn't make you less of a fan again. It doesn't make you less of a fan for asking the question. If anything, following blindly is probably a weaker form of fandom. Following because you've genuinely asked the questions and you believe in what has come back as the answer, I think is always the truest form of fandom. And so for anyone who is just genuinely asking, look, I just want to know more information. I love this band and that's why I want to know more information. I'm kind of with you on that. But I still have a lot of love for all of those people who are like, I just believe because it's BAND-MAID, the pigeon shall deliver. I have a lot of love for you guys as well. And I have a lot of respect for the folks who are, feeling more cynical. Just like, look, I've been through this for years. I just want them to announce something. I'm not going to get excited till then. Wherever you sit on that scale, I respect you fully for it. And other people should respect as well. That's a great thing. You need a mixture of people to make a fandom. If everyone's just playing the same game, trying to be the best example of like the ultimate fan, then it's like, it's not fun. Fan communities are made out of people with different views. And so respect to anyone, whatever your feeling has been about this announcement, any of the announcements in the past or about the future. But hey, I personally feel that this does say something. It might not be dates, but it says something more important, which is says, this is our priority. And I do think that touring, even at a loss, is still worth it. And I do think that as a community, we've got something to be excited about. And I think BAND-MAID probably are in the best possible position to do this now because of the fact that they've secured their position at home by doing a lot of work on their reputation in Japan. And there you go. Those are my thoughts on the things that you guys brought up. Thank you so much for doing it. Remember, BAND-MAID are probably coming to somewhere around you sometime in the next 20 to 50 years. Anyway, take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.